Thank you very much, Toastmaster, fellow Toastmaster and visiting Toastmasters. And so our theme is past, present and future. And my previous speech was every day is a school day. So I won't make you close your eyes and cast your mind back to your school days, because sometimes we know that for some people it's a really positive and you really enjoyed being at school, but for some it was probably a I don't want to go back to school moment. So whether it was yesterday or not, well, you wouldn't believe that I left school over 2 decades ago. Okay, I'll take this as stunned silence, and imagine jaws dropping to the floor. So every day is a school day. What does that mean to me? And for me, it means it's an opportunity to learn, because it's not just about being in education. I think life itself is a learning process, and certainly life throws at you all sorts of learning opportunities. Let me give you an example. So I'm sure everybody has a smartphone and you tend to take photographs. So what I didn't realise was actually there is a grid that you can put on your camera so that it won't take wonky pictures, so that actually it's perfectly lined up, so you won't have wonky pictures anymore. So I was astonished that even existed, and to be honest, sometimes you just don't know what you don't know. So for the benefit of new members and visitors, I'm a co-founder of a commercial surveying firm, and being a business owner has been one continuous learning opportunity. And I think we all know that time is precious, and I just want to give you 3 takeaways that I've picked up and learned along the way, so hopefully to save you a little bit of time and perhaps give you a bit of a light bulb moment. So firstly, one of my learnings has been actually just to show up. So whether that's showing up in a business sense or in a personal sense, or even, for example, this evening, you've chosen to show up, which is marvellous. So give yourself a pat on the back. I think, for mindsets and positivity, sometimes you don't feel like doing something, but you just put your mind to it and showing up. And I'd just like to give you a little example in my business sense, how showing up is, you might not feel like it has an effect on you or some other people, but it really does. So for example, if you cast my mind back to pre-pandemic days, networking events were in person, was in various locations. And I turned up to a networking brunch. It was a 2-hour event, and I wanted to meet new people and kind of shout about, get to know people and kind of just communicate what we do and learn about other people. And on someone's way out, I was standing near the door, and actually they hadn't planned to come for the whole event, but actually because they were so busy, but they still wanted to be there. So she was leaving halfway through, but she caught the end of our conversation that I was having with somebody else, and she paused and turned and said, "Oh, are you a surveyor? Because we're looking for one of those." What it was she was a building surveyor, and she does defects and so forth, and we do values, and she happened to be looking for someone to kind of work with. So by her showing up, it kind of turned into kind of a really great kind of a business relationship, and I'm really grateful that she was there and happened to be just right at the right moment at the right time. So that's one example of how actually you might not think showing up is a big deal, but if you're not there, then sometimes you can't kind of represent yourself. If you're not there, you're not learning or taking opportunities to learn. And if you're not there, like if you're not here this evening, I'm sure you would be missed. So moving on from kind of my first point, but in a kind of related manner, my second learning would be to try and be consistent. So in a business sense, for me personally, it's about being consistent on social media, for example, and how you build a brand up. You want to be showing up to kind of convey your reliability and your trustworthiness, and by showing up, for example, in Toastmasters meetings, your commitment to actually improving relationships, improving your communication skills, and helping each other improve your speech and listening skills. But if I'm thinking about a business sense and consistency, I'd like to give you an example of how building kind of a consistent brand image, you can use apps and tools. So for example, we are on Instagram and we try and create kind of a consistent image with Canva, which is a tool, which is a free app, so that you can create kind of the same look, the same logo and the same image, and being consistent so that when it shows up on people's feeds that they remember who it is and it kind of gets embedded in their mind. And I think being consistent is very good for being able to build a relationship and visibility. So it doesn't need to be all the time. If you once a week, once a month, just be kind of consistent is, I think, a good thing for business. And lastly, when you're building your relationships and building your brand, you build a community and you want to be able to reach out and ask people for help. I think that's really important to know that you shouldn't be afraid to speak up. Sometimes it's just to ask for support, sometimes it's for advice, and sometimes it's just to have someone to hear and kind of listen to you. And I'd like to give you an example of me reaching out for help, because I was stumped at trying to create an image that was kind of on Instagram, for example, image that's like 4 squares big, but actually it's one image that you can stretch out. And I asked for help, and it turns out there's an app, and of course there's an app for everything. So it turns out it's an app called 9 Square, and it literally creates 9 squares for you, so that it's one image and it tells you to which order to do it in. So I was absolutely amazed that there's an app. So you really just don't know what you don't know. So that was my 3 takeaways. So coming back from the past to the future, and I'd like you to think about how these might help you in your journey. And to sum up, sometimes I think you need to remember that education isn't something you finish, it's something that continues on. Thank you very much, Toastmasters.